Good morning. So, after a long, beautiful weekend and so many juicy drop-ins of Beyond Addiction, today I was sitting in my own practice, just really watching my thoughts, observing what was coming up. And one of the things that's interesting is that we live in our heads. We don't experience life as it is or how it shows up to us. We experience it from where we are up in our heads, because we're so caught up in our thoughts, our beliefs about things. We assume that everything outside of us is the reality, is the truth. But the reality and truth is what we accept ourselves are stuck in, what we're believing, what we're thinking, and we project it into our reality. So that is what we experience. That is why when 2 people, 3 people, 4 people can all be together in the same moment and each one have an individual, unique experience, separate from one another. Yet, each is contributing to the other. But each is also having that different belief about what is happening, different projection and feeling. Thoughts are really powerful. We don't even realize how powerful. This weekend, I was used as an example with kinesiology, muscle testing. In front of the classroom, I stepped out for a moment and the instructor informed everyone they were going to hold negative thoughts toward me. And when I stepped back in and I stood up at the podium and she tested me, I tested extremely weak. Now, that's just a small example. When they thought positively about me, I tested strong. And this is one of the things we take for granted. We're so not in touch with ourselves because we don't make friends with our mind. We don't observe it and get to know it. We don't trust our feelings because we allow our heads to overrule. We are not intimate within with our hearts, our feelings, using our emotions as our guidance system versus reacting from that place. Because emotions, when you act from that place, will get you into the stickiest situations. Emotions can lead you to irrational behavior and decisions and choices. That's why when you see scary movies and a person is completely freaked out in fear running, and then they end up dead and we're all wondering why. They're in an emotional state, they become irrational, and they can't think straight. And if you can't think straight, meaning you engage your mind and work with it, then things unfold and happen in your life that you can't change, that you have to go back and fix. And that's why it's so important to breathe, to trust yourself, to know yourself. Because that is why most people are insecure. They don't trust themselves because their minds have gotten them into sticky situations, because they have allowed their emotions to take over and rule them instead of sitting with them and feeling them and seeing what is this really coming from. Because everything that we do is motivated by either one of 2 things, fear or love. If you are living in a state of fear, everything around you is a threat. And your mind will find all the things wrong and lose sight for all the things that are going right. When you come from a place of love, things are smooth, they unfold, they show up to you, miracles are happening. You become more joyful, and joy attracts more joy. But if you keep yourself stuck in a loop that isn't serving over here, how can you get over here to love? And that's where we have to really hone in on what is it that I'm afraid of. If you catch yourself in a state of emotional upset, upheaval, recognize that's coming from fear. Because again, it's not the people, the things, or the places, anything around us that is causing our suffering. It's our thoughts about them that's causing our suffering. Suffering is an internal job, not an external job. Nobody does anything to you. Life doesn't do things to you. You're simply living life. Life is happening, not to you, but you are a part of it. And how you show up is a choice in every moment. So in this kinesiology example, and the power of our thoughts, consider something when you have friends or family that you say stories about or you speak about in such a way that they always show up this way. This person is this way. Clearly, if you're verbalizing it, you've taken it to the next level. But if you're thinking it, you're holding them hostage in that space to continually meet your expectations, no matter how deeply seated, unconscious, subconscious, and sometimes conscious. The more deeply seated within you, you don't even realize how you're holding them in that space so that they do meet up to your expectations. It's not Murphy's Law. If somebody disappoints you, all they're doing is meeting the expectation that somewhere inside of you, you expected them to disappoint you. And that's actually a form of codependency. It's a disoriented form. It's an active form, believe it or not, because you're actively, just unconsciously expecting something to happen, and that person's just showing you exactly what it is that's in your thoughts, in your reality. And if they're showing up in a way that upsets you and your emotions get triggered and you come from that place of fear, that's when you have to notice, if I'm upset, I'm coming from fear. Whatever it is, it's definitely not love. But the other person's not doing it to you. It's the reality you have created from within. And this is the power of our thoughts. If a room full of people can make me weak by sending me negative thoughts, not thinking positive, not uplifting me, this is the power of community and consciousness. Then that shows you that also when they did the positive thoughts and I became strong again, we as people, as individuals, have the power to uplift, inspire people without even touching them, without even knowing them. But how often are you willing to check in and see how you are showing up to your reality and your reality is showing up to you based on what's going on up in your mind? The next time something happens in your life and you're upset about it, really stop to check your thoughts. What was it or what is it that continues to play like a record that it happens, if it's especially a regular occurrence? And how do you look at people? Do you look at them with love? Because if you value everything around you, then you will find value not only in life, but in yourself, and people will value you more too, because like attracts like. There's a beautiful saying, show me where God is not. Because the truth is, you have the power to illuminate the beauty of life. We as a collective, if we can stop looking at things and seeing the negative and finding problems, that person or that type of person, or you just look at somebody, and I know I'm human, and you have an instant thought based on a belief system, because that's the strongest addiction we all have, is to our beliefs, and then we try to impose them upon people, and that's causing more suffering. When I look at somebody and my first thought is something negative, or maybe they're dressed a certain way and it reminds me of something that was a bad experience, but if I have any form of a negative thought, how kind is it to them or myself? If my family member, my partner, or some friend is showing up a certain way and I'm immediately ready to jump and attack them for something, why don't I just take a deep breath and ask myself, what is it I'm afraid of? What am I afraid of that I already feel like I'm jumping on something that doesn't exist? If I can meet everything with love and compassion and become fearless and stop reliving the past, because that's pretty much how we create our suffering. That's pretty much why people are not feeling secure in themselves. They don't trust themselves because they've allowed their minds to rule and to create the worst case scenarios instead of seeing things as they are, showing up to life as it shows up to you, and allowing it to surprise and delight you. So that is what dropped in for today. So much juiciness, and the mind, it is a trickster. The biggest game player isn't a person, place, or thing, but it's your mind. And never assume you know what someone else is thinking, because you have no idea. That's only your perception and projection based on your fear. Again, if you're worried about what somebody is thinking about you, you've given your power away, and you've taken away their right, because it's your perception and your thoughts that you're thinking they're thinking, not their thoughts. So let's see what the card for today is. So much love, so much love. And find peace in our minds, peace in our hearts. We have to bridge the gap between the heart and the mind. So, here we go. You glow, we beam. Thanks. That's kind of juicy too. You glow, we beam. Thanks. Think about that. If you're willing to stay in positive, uplifting, loving thoughts, if you come from a place of love, consciously, and focus that toward others, especially yourself, then we all glow, we all grow, we all beam. Because what I do for me, I do for you, and what you do for you, you do for me. And if I show up to you with love, then I give you permission to do the same, instead of expecting the worst. In any case, anyone should ask, your heart isn't so large because of your wings. It's your wings that are so large because of your heart. Sometimes loving so much can be pretty heavy. Thanks for all you've shared, the universe. P.S. It's just another one of those nutty body algorithm things. Allow yourself to be that playful child again, with the naivete of believing the good in all. Because the truth is, the good in all, it exists, but you have to be willing to allow it and trust it, and start with self. So much love on this beautiful Monday morning.